This is Roz with Operation Save Our City, and I'm here with your teachers and instructors. And I just want to go back into what we've been learning for the last couple of weeks with weaving. And then while we're weaving, we can talk about some topics that a lot of folks don't like to talk about. But I definitely want to talk about what addiction is. One of the topics that I want to talk about is this one particular drug called K2. I've been reading a lot on it these past couple of weeks and seeing a lot of the effects of what K2 can do to a young person, especially in my community, in the streets of Kensington. I see a lot of it. So K2, for those who don't know, is a synthetic drug. It almost looks like marijuana, but it's not marijuana. It kind of, they also call it Tukey, they call it spice, and it's a very, very dangerous drug. One, because although it may look like weed, it's not weed. It's synthetic, it's man-made, but it also alters your mental status and makes you very, very sick. What I've been seeing on the streets of Kensington is people taking their clothes off, not sure what they're doing, running in the streets, getting hit by cars, vomiting blood, all of these things that can kind of spiral out of control and can cause death, especially with, like I said before, it looks like weed, but it's not weed. And they also put this thing called fentanyl in it, which is another powerful drug that, if folks don't know, Michael Jackson died from fentanyl overdose. Prince died from fentanyl. Amy Winehouse. So there's a lot of different celebrities who've passed away from a deadly dose of heroin or fentanyl. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the dangers of that and how, if you're in a situation where you're with a group of your peers and someone offers you weed, how important it is to just say no, because simply you just don't know what's in that particular drug. You may think you're getting one thing, but in fact you're getting another. I just saw someone the other day on Kensington and Tioga in North Philly of a guy who was completely not with it. He was on K2, ultimately went up to the tracks and tried to jump off of onto the railroad track. So it's crazy. The drug is crazy. Stay away from it. Also, if you guys want to reach out to me, if you have any more questions about any particular drug and the dangers of it, if you want to maybe do if you want to do some research on that, hit me up on my social media, or just, you can email me at operationsaveourcity@gmail.com. So go ahead, you can ask me any questions you want about any drugs. I would be willing and able to share some insight on what some of these drugs do. So last week we were talking about adding some additional bling to our pieces. So I got some rhinestones. These are really pretty. They're all different sizes. So what I wanted to do today was, I know we painted this one about 2 weeks ago. We talked about words and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this one to add my rhinestones on. And so I'm gonna use crazy glue because the Elmer's glue will take too long to dry. And we only have an hour with each other, so I want to make sure you guys can actually see the work. So I'm going to glue some of these on, and you can see what that looks like. Oh, sticky. All right, here. So I'm just going to put it random. I'm just going to put them in no particular order. I'm just going to put them anywhere. And for me, the brighter, the better. Like I like really, really bright colors because it's makes it stand out. Watch you don't glue your fingers because that can be a mess too. And crazy glue, it's hard to come off. And even you could even go a step further and put rhinestones on the pieces that you've already created. Like I'm gonna make another piece just to give you some quick instructions of what we already learned. I'm gonna add it on to the pieces, the rhinestones on here too. I think that'll be really cute. Let's see. See, that's drying already. It's already dry. It's good to work with crazy glue. It works a lot better. Okay. So, yeah, so, I mean, a lot of times, I'm gonna go right back into that topic about the different kind of drugs that are out there. A lot of times when you see someone doing K2, they're just not, and it's a different kind of high. It's not the same high as you would see someone who's on heroin. I mean, their mental status is really, really altered in a way that that person is doing things that they wouldn't typically do, opposed to someone who does heroin, who's like dipping, someone who's kind of a bit unresponsive. I find that with K2, it really turns a person into somebody that they're not. And this is why I've been sharing a lot about staying away from it, because you just don't, I mean, it looks just like weed. And even people saying that weed is, you know, an alternative to other medicine, but if we just stay away from it altogether, you wouldn't have a chance of even getting exposed to something like K2 and fentanyl. So, okay, so this is what it looks like. Is it dry? Yeah. So that's what it looks like. I'm even thinking about, you can also put it in here on the edges, because even when you have your piece, you see how you still have some space. But I want to paint that because it looks like weird when it's brown. So I'll paint that some other time. But yeah, so let's go back into what we've already learned last week about the weaving. So I added a different string. I'll typically do the red, but this time I added this color here, like a bluish kind of. So I decided to do something a little bit different. So I have this color here, and I normally use the thick yarn like this, but I wanted to do something different again, so I added this one. Is a lot thinner, so I'm gonna go ahead and weave with that. So just remember, when you make your clusters, tie in the end of it so that it's easier to weave into the panel or into the loom. So you just make a knot. Let me cut this. This is a little long. And you're going to go over, under, over, under. Here we go. Okay. So just remember, use your knot as the lead. It makes it easier to pull through. Oops. Over, under. Yeah. So when we were talking about addiction and all these celebrities who died of an overdose, like, let's see, I wrote some names down. Judy Garland, Michael Jackson, Marilyn Monroe, Prince, Ike Turner, Demi Lovato, Amy Winehouse, Mac Miller. But you know what? Those are all these, you know, yeah, they're celebrities and stuff. But let's not get that messed up with the fact that you don't have to be a celebrity to get hooked on any kind of drug. because there's so many people on the streets of Philadelphia and across this country who's addicted to opiates. And that's you can just see from the streets of Kensington and across the city that that is a hard habit to kick. So if we can just stay away from it, it would avoid all of the traumas and the pains that your family would go through, not knowing if you're alive or dead, if you're going to overdose today or tomorrow. So, you know, I don't want to say, you know, that being addiction is obviously a bad thing, but I know a lot of people who are in addiction, but it doesn't mean that we treat them any different. It just means that they have a problem and that right now they need all of the support that they can get. However, sometimes when you come across someone who's in addiction, it has such a strong hold on them that sometimes people in addiction can really burn some bridges. And I see a lot of family members who have that same situation where they stop talking to their loved ones and they don't want anything to do with them because they burn a lot of bridges, whether they stole from them or it just really destroys a relationship between a parent and their child, or their mother, or their kids, because their mother's using. I mean, it really doesn't have any picks on how addiction affects anyone. I mean, I've seen doctors who've been addicted to drugs, and it can start as simple as a car accident or something that had to do like with an injury, and they get hooked. And I think that if we can really have a conversation on how to know the signs and not get hooked in the first place, we can avoid the pains of hurting ourselves and hurting our family members. I was just talking to my cousin the other day, and occasionally you can come across somebody who, you know, who's in addiction. My cousin's been in addiction for so long, and he said to me the other day that he was ready, right? But this is the addiction, right? That he was ready to go into treatment, and then when I go back to get him, he wasn't ready. And that's simply because this drug can have such a strong hold on someone that it can cause this self-doubt as well. And I see hope in my cousin, but I also see how bad this addiction has kind of controlled him in a way that it's hard for him to get out, but it's also hard for him to make these kinds of decisions because he's worried about being sick, being dope sick, and fighting this withdrawal that can be so painful for so many folks. And I mean, this is just the real stuff that happens that people don't want to talk about, the in-betweens of drug use. As a family member who has someone who uses, it's a struggle for all of us because we don't know what when he's gonna, if he ever overdoses, like what that would look like, you know, for his kids, you know, or even planning funerals and all of these things, and the talks about addiction are very minimal with families. And this is why I want to be able to have a dialogue and a conversation about even talking about it, you know, going home and talking about addiction with your parents or with your siblings, and just talk about it. You know, the conversation about drug use doesn't have to be taboo. It can be something that you can just talk about, and how what the dangers are of addiction. So, I mean, just talk about it. You know, when you talk about something that a lot of people won't talk about it, the chances are you're not going to do it. because you're educating yourself on what this drug can do. See how this color is? That's beautiful, right? It's a little bit different than what we're used to working with, but it's thinner. So have that conversation with your family, have that conversation with your friends about what drug use can do. I mean, it will tear your family apart. And if we can avoid even trying it, you guys will be amazing. So try not to even bother with it, you know. And I'm not saying don't love those who use drugs, because I mean, I have family members, as you guys know, who use drugs, and I can never stop loving him. Can you trust a person who use? Probably not. I mean, not at the moment. It's hard to trust a person who's looking for their next fix. And, you know, I'm very stern with my cousin though too. You got to be very upfront and say, nope, nope, you can't get no money, but I can hook you up with some food. And that's typically what I do. It's like, I'll hook them up with some snacks. Who doesn't love snacks? You know? So I'm going to go ahead and use the smaller, the same kind of string on this one as well. I think it'll look really, really pretty if I add the the rhinestones to it. But okay, you see what's happening here? So I got to watch, because if I do it too tight, this part right here will get smaller, and then I'll have a weird piece. It'll be big at the bottom, and then it'll start getting really thin. So we got to watch that we don't pull the string so tight. So I'm hoping at the end of these workshops that we can start installing some of these pieces that we've already created in the different locations with positive messages of hope, because it's important that people, even during this pandemic, or even in places where people are in recovery, that we send a message of hope. You know, that's very, very important, that we remind people, you know, we may make some bad choices in life, but it doesn't have to define us to what, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be that way. You know, you could send that positive message out, and, you know, words stick with someone for a very, very long time. This is why I always try to focus on the language that we use, especially around people with addiction. Okay, so it's coming together real nice. Alrighty. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit of some of the drugs that that people are talking about when it comes to folks in addiction, right? So this is one particular drug that everybody talks about, and it's an overdose reversal drug called Narcan. So Narcan it's an overdose reversal drug. It kind of blocks the receptors from getting high, or reverses the effects of overdoses. So if you're not familiar with Narcan, you might want to learn a little bit about what Narcan can do for someone who's in addiction. And just know that if you ever came across someone who was overdosing, and or had this condition, and you're not quite sure if that person is actually overdosing, and you administered the Narcan, no worries, because nothing will happen if you administer Narcan to a person who doesn't need it. It doesn't have absolutely no effects on someone who is not overdosing. Like, say for instance, you come across someone who is not you thought that they were overdosing, but maybe they were having like a seizure or a diabetic situation where their blood sugar was low, and you just wasn't sure what that was. If you administered Narcan, which comes in different forms, it comes in the nasal form, but it also comes in intramuscular form where you can inject on your arm. But if you use it on someone who didn't necessarily need it, no worries, because nothing will happen. Nothing would happen to the person. It's been proven that nothing can happen to a person by using Narcan. But go ahead and use that to bring the person back who you think is overdosing, because the chances are, if they are, you are going to save their life. You know, it can be potentially someone you love. It can be your dad, your sister, your grandma. And you'd be surprised a lot of the accidental overdoses that happen, especially with the elderly community who may be on some kind of opiates for pain, but didn't remember that they took their first dose of medicine and they take it again. So there's a lot of accidental overdoses as well, for folks who need help with their meds. So this is why we should never pass judgment on even the word overdose, because I mean, it could happen to anyone. All right, so this is really, really coming together. So what I'm gonna do with this piece is, so since I'm using the same color on here too, you see that? I'm gonna use this color down here. I'm gonna put the rhinestones on all of these right here and see what that looks like. We're just gonna bling it out today. I've never had a piece where I put rhinestones on it, so we're just gonna go ahead and try that. There's no right or wrong way to weave. It just feels really good to have conversation and to have something that's, you know, your mind is with it, but you're weaving. It's just something about that. It's something about you. If you ever have a conversation, a topic that you want to talk about with your parents, and you don't want it to get like, I mean, the conversation obviously is going to be deep, but you don't want like emotions all over the place. Try doing something with your hands and you'd be surprised. And make sure that you guys are doing it simultaneously. You'll be surprised how smooth the conversation would go and how easy it is when you're doing art, when you're doing something and you need to have a really deep conversation with your parent about something. Or maybe talk about something that's had happened in the past and you guys haven't talked about it. There's something about art that really, really brings joy and comfort to a space. So you guys should try it. It doesn't have to be weaving. It could be anything. It can be coloring. It could be crossword puzzles. It could be anything, you know. It's just something that when your mind is that happens with someone's mind and emotions when you do this. Wait a minute. Oh, did I mess up with the over under? No, I didn't. Yes, no, I didn't. Yeah. So yes, there we go. It is coming together. So just remember to smush it. You see how I have all this left? So if you smush it, like squeeze it right here, you have a little bit more space to weave the rest in. That's awesome. Okay, yes. Yes, yes, yes. So also you can remember to, you can paint your frame, whatever color to match your piece too. I want to see some pieces. I really, really want to make sure that we can install those pieces in different parts of the community, whether it's at the federal building with the DEA, at your campsite, at centers where people are struggling with addiction. Because despite of the fact that we don't want you to do drugs, we have to face a music that there is people actually using drugs and they need to be uplifted just like we need to be uplifted. So positive messages is important. Our words are important. Oh, did I mess up? No. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, that piece is done. I think I am going to cut these though. See that? All right, so now, for some reason, I've misplaced my scissors in my bag, so I've been using this. I don't recommend this. So, all right, so I'm going to cut two. Remember, cut two at a time, because it's going to make it so much easier to manage and to knot it. It's going to be so much easier. All right, and after I knot these, I'm going to add the rhinestones to them. There we go. So I put up a new link onto the Operation Save Our City page this morning. So when you guys have a chance, you can take a look at that. It talks a little bit about addiction. It also talks about, oh no. I think oh no, I didn't. It's okay. Right? Oh no. I think see, this is what I'm talking about. When I did the back, I didn't hold it tight. so now it's kind of unraveling in the back. We got to be very careful. All right, let me try to fix that. All right. Okay. No right way, no wrong right way to do it. You're just gonna, not this. It happens. Okay, here we go. Yeah, just make sure we knot it so it doesn't unravel all crazy. That way you lose your whole piece. All that work. I think I got it. This stuff can get a little tricky using the different string. Okay. Yeah, this one's gonna come out a little weird, but it's okay. All right, here we go, the other one. Not too bad. I saved it. So this one piece that I did, that I added this morning on my Facebook page just talks a little bit about the struggles of living in Kensington, but also what we see on a daily basis across the country. So this is why it's important that we educate ourselves about the drug use that's happening and what to stay away from. It's very, very important that we stay away, especially from K2, which seems to be the drug of choice for teenagers, because they really talk about K2 as if, well, they see it as a drug like weed, which is not. So that's why I really, really want to emphasize about the dangers of what K2 can do to a young person too. It can really, really alter some things. And even if you, let's say you became addicted to K2 and you decided you wanted to go into treatment and go into recovery, it has these long lasting effects forever. So you gotta be careful with what you even start with. You know what I'm saying? Just stay away from it all. All right, so here's the piece right here. I think I should put this. Let me cut that. And I think I'm gonna knot this one a little bit more. These knots are, no, I can't knot it. All right, so I'm gonna put some rhinestones on it, because I think I'm just wanting to bling everything out right now. Use this glue. Oh. It's actually nail glue, but it's crazy glue, really. All right, there you go. Just put a couple dots. Mm-hmm. And put the rhinestones on them. Should probably got tweezers. Watch you don't glue your fingers, because this stuff is very, very hard to come off if you get it on your fingers. So it's going to come out really cute. You'd be surprised you can decorate a whole room with this stuff. Okay. Okay. So there you go. Add some more. I'm really bringing this out. Just everything's gonna have rhinestones on it. Pizzazz. Now I don't expect the gentleman to be blinging everything out. I mean, if you want to, that's fine too. But I'm just saying. Once you get like, it's almost like glitter. I love glitter. I know so many people don't like glitter because it's like everlasting. It's like everywhere. Alrighty. Oh, this is nice. Okay, I want to lift it up, but I can't because it's not dry. And I feel like if I try to lift it up, everything will fall off. So I'm gonna let it sit for a second. I think that looks fabulous. Excuse me one second. Grab some tissue. Thank you so much. Okay, so it is coming together. All right, I'm not going to lift it up yet, although I really do want to, so you guys can see. Of course, I got glue all over the place. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You just can. All right, I'm going to try to lift it. And hopefully, look at that. So these are simple things to do. Great way to start conversation with your parent. Just start weaving. You can weave anything. You can weave, as you've seen our workshop last week, you can weave aluminum foil, you can weave fabric, you can weave the yarn, you can weave just about anything. You could also use really big looms. The looms can be as big as you want them to be. The bigger the loom, the bigger the piece. And you would do it exactly the same way as we did on this picture frame, but on a larger scale. I love to use the looms, the big coat rack looms, because they can cover a whole wall with a particular piece. If you use fabric and you weave it into the piece, you can actually write messages on that fabric if it's flat. Using something like parachute paper, parachute cloth. Those are nice to work with because you can really add some amazing messages within the piece. It doesn't have to be a tag like we've been working on. It doesn't have to be, you could also weave with tissue paper as well. Tissue paper is really nice to work with. But particularly parachute cloth, because you can write messages in that too. check this out. So this one, like you could actually, if you wanted to, because we have all this bling happening right here, you can get another frame and you can line the back. You could actually line the back with aluminum foil, can add some texture to the back, and then glue this on, and you can still see the back. So you can do it in many, many different ways, however way you think works for you. However, whatever you're feeling that day. Color is, I like color. I love working with different bright colors. All right, I think that is perfect. And that's perfect. Isn't that cute? Okay, so the message, since we're talking about how much words matter, we want to write a message on this one. I don't know, let's see what I'm going to write on this one. Let's see. We could even write, so today's message will be, I'm just going to put you matter, and maybe some hearts or happy faces or emojis, little emojis. I'm just going to do hearts. You can paint these too if you wanted to. You can paint these as well, but I'm not going to paint this today. So yeah, so that's how you do that. I'm going to show you again on how to add the piece to the loom. You know, the wraparound, just in case you forgot. I'm going to use a different color. Maybe I'll do red. Well, this one looks like it's kind of stretchy. And you don't want anything that's stretchy on the loom, because then when you're pulling it, it'll be all over the place. So let's just use this. Let's use that one. Let's cut this. Let's cut that up here. So remember, when you're putting it on the loom, you're gonna knot first. Make sure you have enough space, and you're gonna knot it. You're gonna knot it several times so it doesn't come through on the top. That's important. Keep knotting, keep knotting, keep knotting. And then once you've already knotted, you could actually tie the string once you've looped it around 6 times. Remember, 6 is the magic number. Once you've looped it around, you can tie it to the next one so that it really, really secures it. So I'll show you. So here's a notch here. You're gonna put this like that. There's your knot. See, when you pull it, it's not coming through. So you're gonna wrap it around 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're gonna cut it. And the same thing you did on the top, you wanna do at the bottom. You wanna knot it, because that's gonna secure it. Or you're gonna use this one and tie it onto here. So that's another way to secure that. All right, we want to make sure we secured it so it doesn't come off while you're working. So there it is. It's tied right next to the one next to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same one to the top one and just tie it to the one next to it. so that you can create your piece and it doesn't come unraveled while you're working. I've had that happen several times. There you go. Now I'm really working with some pink today. Okay, I'm going to use this one. Just remember, when you're making your clusters, I'll show you how to do the cluster. Just remember that we want to hold on to the yarn, because if you do this, it's going to like the yarn hold it right here, or maybe in a box. It keeps it from going all over the place. So start your one piece to like the spider, just like that. So it's really, really simple. And you can do a cluster of 6, 7, however thickness you want it. You can have it that way. So I'm gonna keep going, keep going. I think I want it thicker. You can mix and match colors. You can add another color to your cluster. That's fine too. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And then we cut it. There you go. And that's the cluster. You tie it on the top. Like that. I'm gonna start with the pink, because I think it'll look really nice with this colorful background I have here. All right, start with the knot. The knot is gonna be leading over, under, over, under. And I use big clusters so that we can finish the frame faster. And we can have a piece at the end of our, we'll have 2 pieces by the end of our class today. Because we're using really, really big clusters. And again, you know, this is a great way to start conversations that are hard. Doing something with your hands, and that really just opens things up, you know, in a good way. So if you have a specific topic you want to talk about that's a little bit difficult, start off with some art. Sit your mom and dad at the table, sit your siblings at the table with you, and give them a loom, some yarn, some fabric, some parachute cloth, and start weaving and start the most difficult conversations that you can have with someone, especially around whether it's addiction, whether it's suicide prevention, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's simply someone who hurt you and you want to express yourself. This is a wonderful way of doing it. It really brings healing to the space. So definitely a good way to start really difficult conversations with your loved ones. So, all right. Over, under, over, under. You see how fast that was? Because we use big clusters. Now, when you're using really, really big pieces, like the loom, like a coat rack loom, amazing. You can use like old bedroom sheets. You can use old towels if you rip them up into strips. Anything, you can kind of weave with anything. So aluminum foil, wire, just about anything. So if you want to add texture, think outside of the box. So we finished that one. I'm going to add some white to it, starting with, I'm going to start with the knot first. We're leading with the knot, under, over, under, over, or under, over, whichever way you want to start. There's no right or wrong way. As long as every time you're passing through the string, it's the opposite of what you did. So that way the stuff doesn't come unraveled while you're working, and then you lost all your work. All right, over, under, over, under. Don't forget to smush it too. You want to be able to have space, so you gotta like smash it down. So that way you can get the other piece. If you want 3 colors on there, it doesn't have to be 3 colors. I'm always doing three colors. So I might not be able to do that on this one because this cluster is so thick. Over, under, over, under. I really want to see some pieces, guys. I want to be able to visit the camp and say, hey, these are some amazing pieces in this space. That tells me some healing is happening. Or just art. All right, here. Oh, this is low. All right, all right, all right. One more, and then it's done. All right, 5 more minutes. All right, I know we can complete this in that time frame. We could do it. We could do it. We can do it. We can do it. Okay. All right, now I'm going to cut the 2 strings. 1, 2. Tie it. Only do 2 at a time because we don't want it to get unraveled. So the mistake I made earlier was I didn't tie the other end. So you have the front end and you have the back end. So I'm going to go ahead and tie the back too, because that's the mistake I did the last time. I didn't tie it and it almost came undone. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, because then all the work would be lost. All right, that's done. That's done, that's done. All right, 2 more. Knot it. So we've completed 2 pieces today. Worked on the frame, blinged it out. And it's gonna look fabulous. All right, here we go. We can do it. All right, one more. We're gonna tie it. Make sure it doesn't get undone. I am really loving the rainbow against this white. It looks nice. And one more piece, and then it's a wrap. We've completed our 2 pieces. I don't think I'm going to put rhinestones on this. I think I just like the rainbow on there. And that is it. There you go. That's the other piece. Definitely got to cut it. It's a little shaggy at the end, but like I said, there's no wrong or right way to do it. So if you want to cut it, you can. If you don't, that's okay too. But I think I'm going to tie it one more time. And that's it. This is like the rainbow. It's got the rainbow colors in there. So that's it. We've completed our piece. If you want to start a conversation with folks and it's a difficult conversation, try weaving. This will ease some of the tension and it'll make it a lot easier to have an important conversation with your loved ones. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you hopefully soon. Bye.